Our Monday's getting off to quite a mild start here in the Chippewa Valley. Thanks to strong southerly flow, we can't rule out a stray shower or storm early on today. Otherwise, more of a widespread rain expected later this afternoon with an early day high temperature into the low 70s. For tonight, rain early, tapering late, lows around 40 with a mix of sun and clouds tomorrow. I'm Sky 113 meteorologist Derek Dahlman.
Get ready to save with half-off deals. A great way for you to get goods and services that you will love and you don't have to full price. Be sure to check out all the great savings that half-off deals have to offer. There's something for everyone, so be sure to see for yourself. Be ready with your credit or debit card and get ready to save. For more details and to find out about all the savings, just go to around715.com.
With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Monday. Dan Kasper Show's on the air. Radio dials, you got a couple of those babies, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online at sportstalk1051.com. You can check out the video stream, which is now on Facebook. And look it up at my Facebook page, DANKASPER, or on Twitter, or on YouTube. And, of course, you got your Google and Alexa home devices in the app. I don't know if I mentioned that one already, but, oh, yeah. What are we going to chat about today, huh? Oh, boy. Green and gold, Packers falling to the Commanders of Washington, now on a 3-game losing streak here. Time to embrace the stink, maybe, with this ball club. I don't know, man. A little frustrating watching this team. You know, maybe we just, beginning of the year, a lot of us, hey, I'm guilty of this. Maybe a lot of us just, I don't know. Did we have too high of expectations? Did we set that bar too high for this ball club, knowing that, you know what, gonna have a brand new receiving corps full of inexperienced guys, not as talented as one Devontae Adams. You know, you lose Devontae and you lose Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I know Devontae gets all the attention, but I mean, I think, you know, we'd take Marquez Valdez-Scantling at this point right now too. So, I mean, did we set that bar too high? I mean, you know, a lot of change in the offseason, a lot of change in the coaching staff. Did we set it too high this year? And well, maybe we should have had lower expectations for some of us, for the majority of us here. But it ain't looking good right now, is it? No, sirree. Not with the trip to Buffalo coming up here. I don't know. Are you guys and girls buying what Aaron Rodgers had to say after the presser yesterday, after the game yesterday, where he said that maybe this is a good thing for us, going in and being underdogs, and I mean, big time underdogs. I think the initial line I saw last night was at 9.5 for Buffalo. Way to, you know, staying ultra positive there, but man, oh man, a little frustrating, isn't it? So, Yeah, I mean, I guess the question I'm going to throw out to all of you: did we just set the bar too dang high with this ball club? Did we set it too high? I'm kind of coming to that realization that I think I might have had some rose-colored glasses on, maybe had some beer goggles on, and a little high expectations. I thought, my preseason predictions was around 11-5, somewhere around there, but they already got 4 losses into the second quarter of the season. Be kind of a miracle if they get that at this. Not 11-5. It'd be like 12-5. Yeah, 12-5. Keep forgetting about that 17th game, but already 4 losses. I think I'd be happy if they get 11-6. Or I keep saying, yeah, I'd be happy if it was 11-6 right now. And I think that's even a stretch coming up here. But hey, that's sports, man. That's why we love and hate it. We love the highs. We hate the lows. It's an addicting drug. And that's why they play the game. Just don't let it ruin your life. Don't let it upset you too much that it affects your life. You know what? You woke up this morning, hopefully. I mean, if you're listening right now, hopefully you woke up this morning. And the day is young. So keep positive, people. Don't let it affect your life. Don't let it ruin your life. Don't let things you can't control upset you too much. But let's talk about this game, okay? We'll get to that coming up on our opening drive here this morning. Let's talk about this game here a little bit. And again, the question I'm going to throw out to you: did we just have too high expectations? Did we have that bar? I know some of you probably didn't. So there were a few that were kind of like, I don't know if I'm that high on this team. Some question marks surrounding it. But are you kind of coming to that realization that maybe we just had that bar too high, and this is what we get with an older quarterback? I know people are really pointing a finger at him, and a lot of people kind of on the socials are saying trade Aaron Rodgers. I'm like, oh no, we're here already. We're here already. 7 games in. Oh, just let's take a deep breath, everybody. Okay, let's just okay. Other stuff on the game plan here this morning. Hey, at least one Wisconsin football team outside the high school ones. We'll get to the high school stuff with Justice Cleveland coming up next hour. But the Badgers getting a W for homecoming. And Jimmy Leonard's first game on the sidelines in Camp Randall. First 2 games on the road. So his homecoming, his Badger team getting a W against the high-flying offense of Purdue. Wisconsin jumped out to a big lead right away. So good to see. I think that's a big-time win, and definitely helps the resume booster for one Jimmy Leonard. And at this point, do you just give him the job? Do you just announce it? Do you make that announcement like, yeah, Jimmy Leonard, he's head coach? Because I know now they've got a bye. And Jimmy Leonard had said after the game, too, that, during this bye, he's going to kind of tell the team his envision of the future if he were to get the job, kind of his, mindset and all that sort of stuff. But that's a big win for the Badger football team. So 21 points in the first quarter, setting the tone there. Now, as we said, they get the bye, but only just 4 more games left in the regular season, and maybe only 4 more games left with that interim status for Jimmy Leonard as head ball coach. Got Maryland, at Iowa, at Nebraska, and then finishing up with the Axe. I think that'd be a big game if, his last game of the regular season gets the Axe against the Gophers there. So we'll talk some college football over there too. But speaking of the Badgers, talking about coaches coming in the hot seat here, Tony Granato and that Badger hockey team. You're looking at it, they swept Minnesota Duluth this past week, and after starting the season 0-4 in games against Ohio State and St. Cloud State, they get a 2-game sweep against Minnesota Duluth, and Minnesota Duluth, one of the top teams in the country. So that's a big time weekend for the men's hockey team too. So shout out to them over there, sweep over number 10 UMD. Other stuff on the docket. Hey, Bucks getting off to a 2-0 start to the season. They got a big time win against Houston on Saturday. Now, when I say big time, I know Houston, not a lot of expectations for Rockets this year. Let's not kid ourselves here. But I mean, dominating win by the Bucks against the Rockets. Giannis just doing the Greek freak thing. I mean, man, just a man right now. Giannis Antetokounmpo. 125-105 victory for the Bucks. But Giannis put up 44 points, 12 rebounds in just 28 minutes of play. Was 17 of 21 overall from the field, including 2 of 3 from three-point line, 8 of 13 from the charity stripe. Just a dominating performance from the Greek Freak. I mean, you want to talk about setting the bar so darn high? Giannis is setting the bar so darn high every year, every game, every year. And so far, just 2 games in, because we want to do a little overreaction after just 2 games in, 32.5 points per game, 12.5 rebounds per game, 5.5 assists. He's number 1 in the league in per. But again, just 2 games in. A little bit of a break here for the Bucks after that win on Saturday, because they don't play now until Wednesday, but at home against Brooklyn. So that'll be a good game to kind of watch or listen to, if you will, on the radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. So good start, good first 2 games for the Bucks, 2-0, still on pace to go 82-0, baby. You know, Bucks are probably the only positive big-time team in the state of Wisconsin right now. So hit your wagon to that. We got the World Series. That's all set now. We got the Phillies, and we've got the Astros. Phillies, the team that the Brewers are trying to catch. And yeah, the Phillies left the door open how many times for the Brewers down the stretch to take that final wild card spot, right? To take it away from them. And the Brewers just couldn't do it. And here we are now. And I'm not saying by any means that would the Brewers be in the World Series right now. But I'm just saying, like, you know, every games don't matter. You know, with that single games don't matter. Holy moly. Brewers maybe would have just gotten, 1 or 2 of those. Phillies wouldn't be in this spot where they're in the World Series right now. That's why we always say, and that's why everybody says, once you get in the dance, once you get in the postseason, once you get in the playoffs, it's a totally different season. And here we are, Phillies taking on the Astros. Astros sweeping the Yankees of New York. So we get the first World Series game set for, Thursday? It says Thursday here, according to the mothership on the 28th. So is that right? That's not right. It ain't Thursday. That's Friday. I thought I saw a promo on Fox during the game. It was Friday, but yeah. Why my mothership schedule has it 28th, but listed as Thursday? Come on. Get your act together there. So we'll do some early predictions on this if you want. Phillies, Astros. Do you think the Phillies have a shot to upset the Astros, or will Dusty Baker and the Astros get his first World Series championship? Not the Astros, talking Dusty Baker. We got our Monday morning quarterback, so we'll do that. What's your biggest second guess or your biggest overreaction from the weekend? You can hit us up with some messages on that. We'll do some studs and duds. The ASAP Used Auto Parts studs and duds. We'll hit that up about 8:05 here this morning. So let's get things rolling on the opening drive. Talking a little green and gold recapping, reassessing, analyzing another loss, 3 games in a row now. Got to put up the big ol' L here in the big schedule in the studio. But the question I'm throwing out to you, did we just, for some of us who had high expectations heading into this season, did we just set that bar too darn high? Did we set it too high? Because I don't know of many people out there outside of, a lot of us picked Philly to win the division in the NFC East. I don't know too many of us who would have picked the Giants to be where they're at right now. Hell, I know I didn't. I thought they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league. A lot of people did. And here we are. They still are sitting with just 1 dang loss, 6-1. You've got, the NFC South. What a dumpster fire there. Tampa Bay 3-4 in the same spot as Green Bay. You look at the NFC West. You have the Seattle Seahawks 4-3. At the beginning of the year, everybody was criticizing that they didn't make a move for acquiring Baker Mayfield or maybe trying to do something to get Jimmy Garoppolo from their division rival. They went in with Geno Smith and Drew Lock in a quarterback battle. And now you got Geno Smith wheeling and dealing this thing, and the Seattle Seahawks are in first place in their division. That's nuts. But again, that's why we freaking love sports. Might be frustrating more times than not, but we're addicted to this. We are addicted to this. It's a drug. As much as we are upset and get upset about our losses from our teams, we still come back for every game. We still get into it. So, all right. Let's get things rolling here. Opening drive. We'll talk some Packers. We're going to probably get some venting off our chests and all that, but hopefully it's not ruining your day, ruining your week. But we'll break it down here a little bit. We got to talk about it, right? All right. We'll be back after these few words. Changing of the seasons is looking pretty darn good right now here in the Chippewa Valley. All those leaves that are red, orange, and yellow. You've outdone yourself again, good old Wisconsin. But maybe these changes of the season is inspiring you to also do some changing around your home. Thinking about changing up the furniture or the layout in your home, but not sure where to start? Well, here, we have a two-step process to help you out. One, shop at the Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Restore to find some new treasures to add to your home. Two, donate what you currently have and are replacing to the Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Restore. That's that simple. When you stop or when you shop at the Restore, you never know what kind of treasures or items you may find there. And to top it all off, your purchase and donations go to help fund home builds for families in need in the Chippewa Valley. Win-win situation. So, if you're inspired to do a little changing, change it up with Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Restore. All right, opening drive here this morning. Kind of putting some more salt in the wound, if you will, for some of you out there. But Packers dropping their third game in a row, moving to 3-4 so far on the season. I think you can probably put Tampa Bay and Green Bay as two teams that have, like, what is going on with some veteran quarterbacks up there? But nonetheless, records don't lie. So sitting here at 3-4, and the question I'm kind of throwing out to everybody out there right now is: did we set that bar a little too high? Did we, kind of look at it with rose-colored glasses a little bit? And I don't know. What do you think? Well, what do you think? Some interesting nuggets or numbers if you want to kind of break it down. First of all, it started off with no David Bakhtiari playing in this game. Apparently a knee issue, or his knee acted up, and on was it Friday, and he was added to the injury report on Saturday with a questionable status. So Packers still kind of went with their retooled offensive line with the rookie Zach Tom getting the start over there at left tackle. Yash getting the start at right tackle. Elton Jenkins moving back to his Pro Bowl spot at left guard. John Runyon going to right guard. Josh Myers obviously still, at center. So, that's obviously David Bakhtiari would have been the starting left tackle over Zach Tom. But, for some people asking, well, why didn't Yash just go over there to left tackle? Well, I'm assuming it's because Yash spent the whole week playing right tackle, and instead of trying to move him back over to left tackle, they kept him over at right tackle instead of, trying to really move around those pieces on the offensive line after practicing the whole week with one way. But nonetheless, excuse me, that was kind of the big thing heading into this. And then, well, Packers, jumped out to that 14-3 lead thanks to a pick six from Devondre Campbell. We're probably going to go all over the place on this thing. We could point to a bunch of different stuff in this game, right? We could point to a bunch of different stuff. But you look at the beginning part of this game, and it was like, Green Bay had a shot, I think, especially on defense, to get a couple more turnovers when Taylor Heineke wasn't settling in. They had some corners with Sewell Douglas, Jair Alexander. I think Savage had one, their hands on the ball. They grab maybe one of those. They grab a couple of those. Maybe it's more opportunity for some points on the board there. But, they were able to get one turnover against Taylor Heineke for as much as he was struggling throwing the football in the beginning part of the game yesterday. But kind of just left it open there, and Taylor settled down nicely and started to make some plays, and lo and behold, look what happened. So, yeah. But that's kind of been a really concerning theme for this Packers defense, is like first halves, not so bad. But the second half, it's just been kind of like poo-poo or collapsing, or even like maybe towards the end of the second quarter, depending on timing of everything. But it's like that's kind of been a theme in these last few weeks here. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. I saw them yesterday, but it's like, ooh, what's going on? And then you look at the offense overall, just 47 plays. 47 plays ran by the offense. compared to, I think Washington was at 71. 47-71. And I know everybody's kind of looking at the box scores. Look, Aaron Jones only had 8 carries, but I think you have to factor in here too that he was targeted 10 times in the passing game, which was by far the most in the passing game. Allen Lazard had 7. Everybody else, I mean, you had a couple of 4s in there too. So, I mean, you kind of look at it, if you add in Aaron Jones did get the 9 catches for 53 yards and 2 touchdowns there. But you add in the targets there, I mean, 18 targeted. If you want to add in 18 on there, or 17, I mean, about 36% of the plays went towards Aaron Jones. So, yeah, his rushing numbers, his carries up there, weren't double digits or anything, but maybe when you add in those targets, I don't know. But I know there's that number that's going around that says, well, 15 carries and, how many, like 2 losses and like 102. I'm exaggerating or something like that, but I know they popped it up at the beginning of the game too. So, but yeah, just 12 carries running the football. And I know Greg Olsen mentioned this, I think it was a couple weeks ago during the telecast, like those short passes, those dig dugs to Aaron Jones and that, they consider those running plays. That Green Bay considers those running plays kind of similar maybe to, like, if you go back to 2007 with Favre and all those wide receivers, and they didn't really have a running game, so they did a little spread offense, and it was like quick passing, where they considered that part of their running game. Not exactly the same, but kind of in that same mindset that the shorter passing game maybe adds into the running games. Whether you agree with it or not, I'm just kind of throwing it out there. That's probably what their mindset is. But whew, this offense, though, I mean, yeah. Are we kind of getting the idea maybe why Aaron Rodgers and the Packers offense really flowed a lot through Davante Adams now? Or are we kind of getting that idea? Kind of settling in here, like, oh, that's probably why that 17, got a lot of the catches and big plays and all that stuff out there. Maybe a little bit. And I'm not trying to, give Aaron Rodgers a pass or anything here too, because I mean, yeah, he's not as accurate as he should be, and he's missing some stuff too. But I mean, your receivers, what? How many drops did they have yesterday? 10 or something like that? Ridiculous. It's literally like there's everything. You can almost say like everything is kind of going poo-poo here for a little bit for the Packers. Drop balls, can't throw deep, low throws, missing some throws, missing an assignment. I think, what was it on the 4th and 1 conversion that Dobbs dropped? If Sammy Watkins would have like held his block or actually blocked, it goes back to the whole thing about one player missing an assignment or not executing in that. But you could point the finger to a bunch of different stuff. But I think when it kind of comes down to it, for me personally, the more I was thinking about it last night and just kind of going through it in my mind, and I'm guilty of it, but maybe I just had too high of an expectation for this ball club. And instead of kind of really looking at it like, okay, yeah, Allen Lazard's number 1. Great opportunity for him. But, I mean, is he a number 1 in the sense of a Jamar Chase or a Devontae or anything like that? Probably not. Good wide receiver. I'm glad, he does all the dirty work and he's got some physical assets to him. But is he a playmaking type of wide receiver? And maybe that's the key. Is he a playmaking type of receiver? And then you look at, the youngsters behind him. Romeo Dobbs, great, preseason, a lot of expectations, a lot of hype. But again, we still have to remember he was a 4th-round pick. He's a rookie. There's going to be ups and downs with him. Christian Watson has been banged up with a hamstring injury. We haven't really seen anything from him. Tunyon's coming back from an ACL. I mean, you've got teams now. I mean, Washington in the first half didn't blitz at all. Nothing. So you can have all those guys in the back end and the secondary, taking care of business. If you could consistently get pressure with your 4-5 up there and not bring those extra blitzers, I mean, for crying out loud, and against our receiving core like Green Bay right now, it's going to be tough to throw the freaking football. What was it, 0.40? I don't know, what was the nugget from Rob Demoski in terms of the pass? Let me see if I can find it. But it was like 0.4 yards or something like that through the air was the average for Rodgers. Oh, let me see if I can find that exact number here. But that is just like, oh my goodness. Let me see. I'll have to find it during the break or something like that. But it was just, here we go. The Commanders still, this was during the game, the Commanders still haven't blitzed or pressured Rodgers once, yet he's averaging 0.2 air yards per completion. And he's 1 for 6, targeting anyone other than Allen Lazard or Aaron Jones. 1 of 6, targeting anyone other than Allen Lazard or Aaron Jones. 0.2 yards. 0.2 air yards per completion. So, I mean, a lot of us kind of thought at the beginning of the year or in the offseason, like, all right, no Devontae, maybe we'll spread the ball around a little bit, but don't you need some talent to be able to spread the ball around a little bit more, or consistent talent? I'm not saying Romeo Doubs or those guys won't eventually be good receivers, but entering into a season where the goal is a Super Bowl, where the goal is a championship, should the front office, should Brian Gutekunst done enough, or should they have done more to bring in some of that talent at wide receiver, to surround him with some more weapons? You go back to the old Ron Wolf quote back in the day, where he said his greatest regret was not surrounding Brett Favre with more talent at wide receiver. It's Goody kind of going through that right now. It's like, dang it, I didn't do enough to bring in some talent. Now, you could say, well, salary cap, this, that, the other thing, blah, blah, blah. You can figure it out, can't you? It depends on if you want to go all in or you want to set up. Just the different ways to go about it. I mean, if you were willing to give Devontae Adams a whole lot more money than what he was getting or what he's currently getting from the Raiders, you could probably figure out ways to, I don't know, maybe keep a guy like MVS or bring in somebody else. I mean, at this point, I know everybody's still talking about Odell Beckham. First of all, does Odell Beckham want to come? Does he want to come to a 3-4 team right now? Yeah, you got to factor that into it. And remember, he might not be back or might not be ready till November, December. So, I mean, there's a lot of games between there, too. But, I mean, you could point the finger. You can point it at everything else. And I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that's wrong with this team right now. It's not just one thing. There's a lot of stuff that you can point to. The inefficiency of the offense, the inefficiency at converting third downs, for crying out loud, the defense, second half woes, rushing defense, stupid penalties yesterday, some debatable whether they were actually penalties or not. But I mean, stupid penalties, whether it's like offensive lineman holding or illegal formations. I mean, this is a team where you can't afford that many mistakes. And when you get flagged, when you have a laundry out on the field and putting yourselves in the deep holes consistently, this isn't an offense. I mean, here's the thing too. It's like if this offense starts off a drive, 1st and 15, 2nd and 12, do you have confidence that they can actually pick up the first? I don't have a whole lot of confidence. You're kind of hoping that maybe you're going to get a flag and to help out your offense to pick out that first down, kind of like their second to last drive where they got some pass interference and illegal contact calls for them. It's like, all right, that's one way to pick up that stuff, I guess. But man, And, the thing is, too, Aaron Rodgers didn't get sacked at all yesterday. Only had one quarterback hit. One quarterback hit. But was kind of, at times a little under duress. But you got all those guys in the back able to, that secondary, those linebackers able to go out there and cover and take away. I mean, to not have to be able to bring in extra blitzers and extra pressure players, going and having that extra coverage in the back end against a receiving core like this, that's going to be a long day. But hey, shout out to good old Medford, Wisconsin native Steve Russ, who's the linebackers coach for Washington over there. He had his boys ready to play. So got to give a little shout out to the good old Medford native Steve Russ, who's the linebackers coach for Washington. You heard probably names like Holcomb and Davis. So got to tip the cap over there. Little respect. So, but we'll see how the rest. I don't. Buffalo. Oof. Yeah, I don't know if I'm buying Aaron's thing. Hey, maybe this is a good thing for us, trying to go in and nobody's expecting them to win and shocks the world sort of thing. Until I see something, I mean, no, I ain't buying it right now. I mean, this isn't a very good team right now. It's not. And hey, maybe they could turn it on and go on a little bit of a run and go in the postseason hot. Maybe. But from what we've seen right now, can't count on it, right? Can't count on that stuff to happen. I mean, if somehow they could go into Buffalo on a Sunday night in Buffalo after the bye, and pick up a W, well, yeah, that's going to be a whole lot of confidence, you would think, for Green Bay, but that's still a huge mountain to climb. All right, you're back to 500. Now you're at Detroit. You got Mike McCarthy and Dallas coming in, and then Tennessee on a short week, and then you're at Philadelphia. The third quarter of the season, it ain't going to be easy. Better figure it out soon, though. Time's running out. Season's, thankfully, when you look at the NFC, for crying out loud, I mean, it's NFC East top heavy. You got Philadelphia 1, Minnesota at 2. Seattle's at 3 with their 4-3 record because they're winning the division. Tampa Bay is still the 4th seed at 3-4 because of their division. Giants a wild card at 6-1. Dallas a wild card at 5-2. And then it might be a battle for that 7th spot. Maybe that's the way Green Bay gets into this thing right now. That might be the only way Green Bay can get in this thing is by getting in. And I know it's way, 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 way too early to be talking playoffs and all that. But kind of looking at how the rest of the NFC is playing out right now, you guys. If the Giants continue their trend, and if Dallas continues their trend, you're looking at that 7th seed. Right now, it's the Rams at 3-3. San Francisco's 3-4 at 8. Atlanta 3-4 at 9. And then you have Green Bay at 10 at 3-4. And right behind them is Washington at 3-4. And then Arizona at 3-4. But you look at how the rest of the NFC is kind of playing out. Unless somehow Green Bay goes on a hot streak and Minnesota falters, which I don't see at this point, or the Giants or Dallas completely flounder, I don't want to be playing for one spot if we just look at the first 7 weeks of the season. Again, way too early. I get that, but whew, that's tough. But yeah, I think maybe we, or at least me personally, kind of set the bar a little too high. Let me set it just a skosh too high. And I know a lot of people probably will be pointing the finger at Goody. Did you do enough to add wide receivers into this? And I think it's a legit question at this point. They do enough to surround Aaron Rodgers with adequate talent. I mean, you kind of look at, if you want to look at like Kansas City, okay, maybe a little bit comparable. You know, you got two quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers coming off an MVP, and I get it, Patrick Mahomes younger and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, Kansas City, they end up trading Tyreek Hill because he don't want to be there, or, you know, the whole contract situation. Packers trading Devontae. So both teams trading their number one guy, right? Their number one guy. But what does Kansas City do? Now, Kansas City already had Travis Kelce, right? So they have a pretty darn good tight end in play. I guess to compare it for Green Bay, maybe it's like, okay, they got Aaron Jones. But still, what does Kansas City go out there and do? Well, they signed Juju Smith-Schuster, who yesterday had 7 catches for 124 yards. Your former Packer, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, had 3 catches for 111 yards. And then they, you know, I know he didn't have any catches, but, you know, at least he's not thrust into a, like, big-time role right away. They draft Sky Moore. And who knows what his future is going to be like. Maybe he'll be a good receiver. Maybe not. But at this point, it's like Kansas City still's like, hey, we're not going to put the rookie in that position to be the new number one guy. They still brought in Juju Smith-Schuster. They brought in Marquez Valdez-Scantling. They made sure to actually have some veteran receivers, have some guys surrounding Patrick Mahomes. And right now, Marquez Valdez-Scantling has 369 receiving yards in the season. Juju Smith-Schuster, 494. And it does help to have a guy like Travis Kelce. But they still went out there and brought in a couple of veteran wide receivers to help out Patrick Mahomes. And now you're kind of looking at Green Bay, and it's like, whew, could they have done a little bit more? I think there you can make the case for sure, no doubt about it. All right, we got to take a quick break. Join in the conversation on the Facebook page, though, at DANKASPR, or on Twitter at DANKASPR, YouTube as well. Or hit me up with a text on the Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. We'll take a quick break, and then we won't have a whole lot of time at the top of the hour, but then we'll get to Justice Cleveland. Past the 7 o'clock hour, we'll update on some high school stuff and talk a little college football too. At least the Badgers got a W on homecoming, right? At least they got that W on homecoming. So, but is it time to kind of, you know, give that job now to Jimmy Leonard? What do you think? What do you think? So let's take that quick break, and then coming up, we'll finish up the first hour with some of your thoughts after these quick words. saying, yeah, it's clearly obvious we maybe had too high of an expectation with the talent on this team this year. So appreciate those of you sending over some tweets and some Facebook messages and that. Keep those babies on coming, all right? At DANKASPER or at facebook.com/Kasper Sports. We got about 4 minutes to the top of the hour. I want to remind you to head to our website at sportstalk1051.com, where you can click on the Nation tab. And you can enter to win some Triple Steel tickets for some home games. You can nominate the Carpet City Flooring Center Sports Spotlight Award. Athletic directors, we had some new certificates went out in the mail back end of last week. So check your inboxes, see if one of your athletes or teams or coaches was named our Carpet City Flooring Center Sports Spotlight Winner of the Week. Or you could submit a question or topic idea to the Man Cave podcast. And don't forget, too, with hunting season kind of in full swing here, upload those pictures to the Tilden Gun Trophy Board. All that, you can do all that in one place, sportstalk1051.com. Just click on that Nation tab and you'll see everything up there. So we'll have a new episode. By the way, new episodes of the Man Cave podcast updated daily or uploaded daily. Man Cave Podcast brought to you by our good friends at Hy-Vee and Toyson Ford. So don't forget to subscribe to the Man Cave Podcast on your favorite podcasting platforms for free. That's iTunes, that's Spotify, that's Google, that's Stitcher, that's Amazon. You name it. It's all over the place. All over the place right now. A couple more messages to get to here. I'm guilty as well of overrating the talent on this ball club. It's clear that they don't have enough talent surrounding. I think that's supposed to say surrounding this entire team. But still plenty of time left. That's just my optimism side of things. Another message coming in here on the socials saying that I think the season's probably done for the Green and Gold. Don't know if it's Aaron's final season or not, but it's clear that Goody did not do enough to bring talent in to surround Aaron and the rest of the team. All right. Well, rest of you, you can let us know what are your thoughts. Hit me up with a tweet or a Facebook message or anything like that. So we got Justice Cleveland. We'll get his thoughts on it coming up next hour, but we're going to hit up some updates on the local side of things. First round of the football playoffs, high school football playoffs in the books. We'll talk to Justice about that. We'll get to some college football. Should the Badgers now, after what you saw against Purdue, 3 games in, is that enough of a sample size for you for the Badgers to give Jimmy Leonard the full-time job right now? He's 2-1 with a win against Northwestern and a win against Purdue, an overtime loss against Michigan State. Is it good enough for you just to give the head job to Jimmy Leonard? Or do you want to see him play out, or I guess coach out the rest of the year? See what it looks like against Maryland, against Iowa, against Nebraska, against Minnesota, and then make that decision. Do you think it should be a nationwide search, kind of like what Chris McIntosh first said in that presser when they announced the firing of Paul Chryst? Remember, Chris McIntosh said he owes it to the program to do a nation search. But do you think they should just hand it to Jimmy Leonard now? We'll also talk a little Bucks. Bucks off to a 2-0 start in the very early goings of the season. A little bit of a break here for the Bucks because they don't have another game until Wednesday, but that'll be at home against Brooklyn. So that should be an interesting and a good early season matchup for this Milwaukee Bucks team. Looking forward to that one. But remember, the Bucks are going to be at home here for a little bit, all the way up until, well, technically November 4th. They're at Minnesota, but then they're back home again against OKC. So, but Giannis off to a good start in his first couple of games. No big surprise, right? You talk about setting the bar high. Giannis always sets the bar freaking high. So, all right. 1 hour in. We got 2 more to go. Stick around. We got plenty more to get to. Question of the day. Looks like the majority of you are already saying, yes, we did, but did we overvalue the talent on this ball club for the Green and Gold? Hit me up with some texts and tweets. All right, second hour kicking off on this Monday morning. What's up, everybody? Appreciate you tuning in wherever you're tuning in, however you may be tuning in. Why don't you join in on the conversation on the good old Facebook page now that we've got the stream up on our Facebook page, trying to be a little fancy and all that good stuff over there. Speaking of Mr. Fancy himself, Justice Cleveland, JC and EC.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Well, as Mr. Fancy, I'm doing great because I wake up and I look great because I'm so fancy.
Okay. I like that
You did not
impression.
expect me to be so fancy in
You
the
sound
morning?
very sophisticated.
Well,
Do
I
you
am
have
a
your
very
do you have your pinky up while you're drinking your coffee too, or what?
coffee. I drink tea. Thank you very much.
How was your weekend, bud?
It was good. It was nice. I mean, I think everybody probably had a
Yeah.
good weekend.
Were you able to hit up the golf course like Brandon did yesterday, or?
Oh, I did. I was
figured,
on the
yeah.
golf course. I got 45 holes in the last
Oh my God.
in a couple of days there,
That
starting
boy.
up Thursday, and yeah, because you never know.
Yep.
You never know when it's going to be the last time. So I
Exactly.
had to take advantage of the weather.
Well, good for you, man. That's good for you. So, I did not. So,
I did it for you.
Thank
Just
you.
remember, that's kind of friend I am.
I appreciate that. You look out for people. I like that. Thank you for that, man.
Exactly.
Well, I'm glad you're able to fit it in because it's been kind of busy for you. I know you're catching some cross country stuff going on, but let's go back to Friday here quickly, Justice, for the level 1 first round of the high school football playoffs. And I mean, you're kind of looking at some teams across our area, Justice, and I know Chippewa Falls, they lost too, but there was a few teams, or at least a couple teams advanced on Friday, right?
Oh, of course, yes. Most definitely would be Eau Claire Regis, which put up 37 points in the first quarter of their game to move on, and just are a machine. And they got a pretty tough battle coming up next with Boyceville, who went on the road and beat Elmwood Plum City. So that'll be a good one to look forward to. Mondovi also getting the victory as well. And yeah, I mean, it's those two, the Clover Belt, represented by both those teams, and you can tell that just was a tough division this whole year, and that's why. And I think it's going to help Mondovi having played the likes of Regis as they keep trying to move on. You get some of the teams on the outskirts of our area too. Ellsworth will take on St. Croix Central as well. So yeah, I mean, it was a fun first round, and this week we'll probably have a little more football like atmosphere than the first week of the football season. That's what it felt like,
Right.
just with that nice warm weather. But I'm not going to complain.
No.
And I will always take the warm weather. So don't look at this as a complaint that I want to have football weather. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how things go on here for the next couple of weeks. Mondovi, by the way, will take on Auburndale. Auburndale got the win over Fall Creek, 47-20. So that one will be in Mondovi as well.
All right. So we get, you're kind of looking at divisions, maybe in Division 1, the one that's like closest to our area is Hudson moving on.
Right.
They squeaked by DC Everest in a 2-7 matchup,
which was a really good game. I was watching that one on the stream when I got back from shooting the Regis game. And yeah, DC Everest gave them everything they could go. So they'll host Appleton North, which, came to Chippewa Falls and got the upset on the road. So that's going to be a big one. And Division 2, New Richmond moving on as well. And I believe they get West De Pere next.
Yeah.
So another one of those big ones. River Falls got the win as well. So potential there if both those teams move on for a Big Rivers matchup in level 3. So yeah, I mean, there are teams around. Baldwin Woodville got the win; they're moving on as well.
Rice Lake's moving on too.
Rice Lake, yes, I don't know how I forgot that. The team that when you get to the playoffs, you can never count a Rice Lake team out. They play such a tough schedule. Now, obviously, they moved to the middle border; they're not in the Big Rivers anymore. But that's a tough conference as well. There's still a bunch of middle border teams going. So yeah, they'll take on Mosinee at Mosinee, and they got a good chance in that one. Really do.
Yeah, and then maybe we'll get a Rice Lake Medford matchup if Medford can pull off the upset. Come on, no, thank you, Rice Lake, though, for beating Merrill. Because, no offense, but Merrill was my main rival as a kid. So thank you, Rice Lake.
I was going to say that one's near and dear to your heart, right?
Definitely. No go to the Blue Jays. I'm sorry. No go to the Blue Jays. Yeah, we got that one. Then, as you mentioned, some other ones in Division 4 and such, and kind of looking at, I guess, throughout the rest of the divisions. Cadott moving on with a big time win against Ladysmith.
Thank you for throwing that out there. I almost forgot about that one, and I apologize to my friends in Cadott there. But yeah, big win, first ever. Me and Brandon were figuring this out on Friday that was their first ever playoff game that they've hosted.
Mhm.
Even when they won the title, I think it was '99. Their field wasn't didn't have a fence back then, so they couldn't host.
Man.
So yeah, that was their first home playoff game. The field a lot different now than it was back then, but yeah, so good for Cadott. I mean, this is a team that they didn't have a program for a couple years,
Right.
when I first got here, and have come back and now winning playoff games, and now have they have a tough opponent next in Stratford.
Mhm.
Just one of those teams that's a legacy team that's always there and always is very experienced. But hey, they can do it. They ran the ball. I don't think they had 0 passing yards, like 300 and some yards rushing.
Wow. Holy
Old
cow.
power football right there. So yeah, I think Cadott, good for them. Good for the Hornets.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, kind of looking at Division 7, you already mentioned Regis. You got the Fighting Chance Stickmans on the other side of the bracket too, with
I think that's
Cashton.
what we're waiting.
Mhm.
I would love to see that if it could happen at state, Cashton versus Regis, that'd be a lot of fun. But it's still a lot of games to go. And also, I can't forget to mention in Division 7, Pep and Alma as well.
Yep.
Number 1 seed there on the bottom part of the Regis bracket, which could eventually be that level 4 matchup between Regis and Pep and Alma, and that would be a fun one as well. Bangor's on that side too. It's kind of crazy that Cashton's on one side of the bracket and Bangor is on the other side, and they're
Yeah.
what, 7 miles apart from each other. But that's how it all works when you gotta figure it all out.
Right, exactly. And then I know we got the 8-man or 8-player, I should say, football teams or football games going on. And Clayton got the win over number 2 Shell Lake, so Clayton moves on. And really, that was the only upset besides was it Lano on the other side of the bracket? If you kind of look at the seeds and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
But,
Wabino.
yeah,
Leona.
Wabino. Thank you.
And the one on their same side, Lena St. Thomas Aquinas beat number 1 Gibraltar.
Oh, yep.
So yeah, there was a couple of upsets, and then you got Gilman got the win over 3 Lakes Phelps, and they'll take on Newman Catholic, which just from watching those highlights of them, they beat McDonald in the first round. Newman Catholic is a machine, so Gilman's got a big fight ahead of them. But hey, anything can happen.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, I always remember when I was growing up, I think it was Newman Catholic, the girls basketball program. It was
Yes,
just, it
They've
seemed like
had
they're at
some-
state every year.
yeah, they've had some really good athletics come through Newman.
But you were at also cross country. Was it on Saturday, Justice?
Yes, Saturday morning down in West Salem, Division 1, and good weekend for Eau Claire Memorial cross country. Both the girls and the boys qualifying for the state as a team. So that's this weekend coming up in Wisconsin Rapids. So congratulations to the old Abes.
No, good old Ridge golf course, right, in Wisconsin Rapids.
Yes, yep. And
Have you golfed at that one?
I've never golfed there. I've been to the cross country meet there.
Yeah.
Usually the weather's not golfing weather. So this weekend actually, so far the forecast looks like it's gonna be perfect in the mid 50s. Just good running. I mean, it was warm on Saturday morning. I'm sure those guys were feeling it too. I mean, that's a little different than you're expecting in late October. But yeah, I mean, just congratulations to Eau Claire Memorial for putting on both those teams, and both will have a chance for a state title.
Yeah, that's awesome. So a little hilly on the ridges, though. Just be careful. Some certain parts over there. So great golf course, though. And then I know we got volleyball is in the middle of their playoff run here too, right, Justice?
Yes, Chippewa Falls, both McDonald and just Chi High moving on, both looking very dominant in their performances in the last week. So moving on to sectionals. I know Chi High, they'll be in Hudson on Thursday, and that's like a double header they're doing there. And then I got to get my bracket for McDonald because they just pulled off the win over Emmanuel. McDonald, they'll host Turtle Lake, and Turtle Lake's a team. They pulled off a 6 seed, but Turtle Lake and McDonald have met in the playoffs, I feel like, the last 4 or 5 years. So it's, even though they upset Clayton, Turtle Lake is one of those teams that's always there. So that'll be a big one as well. So yeah, I mean, both those teams have a definite shot of trying to make a run there to state.
Definitely. So, do you know off the top of your head when like basketball practice starts in that?
That should be soon.
Yeah.
I don't have my calendar up, but it's very soon. I know usually once we get to November, that's when it starts. So
that's what I was
I
kind of
remember there's usually that overlap between you have the end of the football season,
right,
And
Especially if you go
some
deep in the
basketball.
postseason and that, and it's like, oh, practice and all that. I remember that.
Okay, here we go. November 7th, earliest day for gymnastics, basketball, and hockey. So
Okay.
November 7th. So
So
we're about 2 weeks away.
right. Okay. That's coming up, baby. Holy
Yep.
moly.
So that's girls basketball. Boys basketball is the next week, the 14th.
Okay. That
With
makes
wrestling.
sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So we're almost there, though. I mean, like I said, it'll be a couple of weeks, and we'll have that kind of overlap going on.
Right. Good stuff there, JC. Thanks for breaking it down on the
No
local
problem.
sense there, man. Might as well just get into it, but with the Green Bay stuff, with the Packers' third straight loss, the question I'm kind of throwing out there, Justice, did some of us, and I'm guilty of this, man, I'll just flat out admit it, but did we have too high of an expectation for this team this year? Did we kind of maybe, look at it with rose-colored glasses or beer goggles and all that sort of stuff and be like, yeah, they probably, when you look at it, especially, maybe on offense, did they have enough talent on there? And kind of talking about Devontae, but I would argue, MVS is being missed on this offense too. Did people like me kind of, maybe overrate them a little bit, Justice?
Oh, and I'm right there with you. I
Mhm.
think you thought that Aaron Rodgers would be able to overcome the loss of Devontae
Mhm.
and MVS and just veteran presence in general on the offensive line. They lose, you lose your center as well. And David Bakhtiari, we're not sure if he'll ever be the same player.
Mhm.
I know he didn't play last year really, so but yeah, I think I think some of the blame has to go to Brian Gutekunst in this whole situation
Mhm.
because his job is to identify if that team has enough talent to go. And I know it's tricky with Aaron Rodgers' contract situation to fill those voids with players of equal caliber. It's hard to find anybody who's equal caliber, obviously, as Devontae Adams, but I think maybe we thought because of the success they've had the last 3 seasons that it was just going to come naturally. You still have a lot of talent on that team, but I think that you've seen the failure of some of these guys to step up to where you need them to be. The receiving core is in shambles, really, if you think about it. Alan Lazard is showing that I don't know when he's on the field, he's a good player, but he hasn't been able to stay on the field. I don't think he's ascended to that number one role. Sammy Watkins got injured. And, when he's out there, he makes a difference. But again, he has been out there.
Mhm.
You've lost Randall Cobb to injury as well. And what are you left with?
Yeah.
Not a whole lot. Amari Rodgers is now finally starting to get snaps. You have 2 rookie wide receivers that have been very inconsistent. They haven't been able to really target Robert Tonyan at all. And then I think like an A.J. Dillon, I think I expected a little bit more from A.J. Dillon.
I agree. Yep.
And I think there are too many drop balls. When they need him to step up in situations, it hasn't happened. Aaron Jones, I give him 100. I wouldn't take Aaron Jones off the field if you didn't have to.
All right.
Because right now, I think he's the most consistent offensive player the Packers have. And they're, next to Aaron Rodgers, who hasn't been really that consistent either. I think Aaron Jones is the guy that you need on the field as much as you can have because the defense has to account for him. So there's coaching failures too, failures to adjust. I think when they come out with the scripted plays, they look fine. And then it seems like after that, they just get into a lull and can't move the ball. So all around, there's blame. There's not just one thing you can pinpoint it on. It's just a big failure right now for the Packers.
I agree. And, the A.J. Dillon one, I know it was last week. I think the puzzling thing for me for A.J. Dillon is his yards after contact aren't that great. And I think was it last week or maybe it was a week prior, but like his numbers for yards after contact were so low. It was like Aaron Jones was like, I think he had a higher average, without contact or so. It was a ridiculous number. But the point of being was that yards after contact for A.J. Dillon has not been great this year. And I know some people were kind of, if you go down to Twitter wire or Facebook, like, kind of like, oh, A.J. Dillon, I'll get tackled after one hit. Sort of thing. I would say that, yeah, A.J. Dillon has been a player that I'm a little like perplexed that we're not seeing the production come from him this year.
Right. Yeah. I think everybody was ready for that number 2 spot.
Mm-hmm.
And it just there hasn't been anything there that's really shown you that he can do anything special right now.
Yeah.
You expected him to be that bruising back. He's that guy that everybody's like, okay, this is, they're in lightning combo. I would argue that Aaron Jones has both of those
Yeah.
right now. He's the guy who usually finds a way after getting that first contact or gets deeper into the line. He's running downhill where I feel like A.J. Dillon's running uphill a lot. So, yeah, and he just the drops have really hurt him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the things that are, I know a lot of those are rushed plays and he's usually the last option, but if he makes some of those catches, they could, there's probably a win on, if he makes one of those short yardage catches for a first down somewhere out there. So, yeah, I don't know what the exact answer is on offense. Now, the other side of the ball, they got issues.
Yeah.
They really do. I think Joe Barry's being outcoached right now. I just don't see how the Packers can't guard anybody in the flat.
Yeah.
They're artificially trying to get, that pressure on the quarterback. And I give a lot of credit to the quarterbacks they played have been able to find that person in the flat. But I think the Packers are leaving somebody open on those plays, be it a soft zone or what you want to say. But on defense, there's something, those quarterbacks who we're not talking the highest level of quarterbacks are finding those holes. Now, I don't know what you can say about Taylor Heineke throwing that, pass to Terry McLaurin late in the game that Jair Alexander's right there. Some of that has to do with just, Terry McLaurin coming back for the ball and just fighting for it. But fight might be something that the Packers need a little bit more of because it sometimes it doesn't look like there's fire, especially on that defensive side.
It's perplexing. It's concerning too. Like it's like the second halves of this defense, right? I mean, it's like the first quarter and a half, first half. They look fairly good, but then it's like the second half and it's like can't stop the run, can't get off the field, can't get off on third down, allowing some big plays in that. And it's like, again, that goes back to the question, is it adjustments? Is it, willingness to adjust or not adjusting? Is it coaching? But it's like the second half collapses. I mean, you look at the total numbers too. And like you said, it's not one thing. You look at Green Bay's, I think they ran 47 total offensive plays compared to Washington's 71. Well, that's twofold. Offense needs to stay on the field longer and defense needs to get off the field in the second half.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that offense, just when you're going 3 and out as much as they are, it's hard as a defense to go back out there and you're giving that other team so many more chances to make those adjustments while they're playing. So it's been ugly. And it's not, the Jets game was the one that, obviously they lost and didn't have a chance in. They've been there, a few plays here or there, and it's a whole different story. But now you got the Bills.
Yeah.
And it could, I think the prediction is going to be from everybody, it could be really ugly. This has got to be, a personal attack on, these guys got to take this personal and come out and play with fire against the Bills. Or you're going to be in a tough spot. You go 3-5, and with the way the NFC East is going right now, I know there's other teams obviously, scrambling and struggling just as bad as the Packers are, Tampa Bay being one of those. But, we're getting to that point where now we're going to be under, we got 10 games left in the regular season. If you can't, you got to find some fire here right now because you have teams like Atlanta Falcons that are ahead of you right now already in the standings. There are a bunch of 3-4 teams. San Francisco's 3-4, Atlanta's 3-4, Packers, Commanders, Arizona. So, I mean, people fighting for that final playoff spot. It's going to be really tough. Somebody's going to have to separate themselves and, you got to start doing something here if you're the Packers, or time's going to start. That clock's going to really start ticking out.
I agree, man. And I don't know how much I buy Aaron Rodgers. I know why he said it. And I know why, he put it out there. But, when he said after the game, hey, maybe this is a good thing for us, on this little 3-game losing streak. And then they go into Buffalo and, they're going to be big time underdogs. It's great to have that. But we actually need to see something on the field that would give us a little bit more confidence in that, too. Yeah. Yeah.
And this is really truly the biggest test of Matt LaFleur's coaching career in Green Bay. He's never really had to deal with this. And what do we think back on those Packer teams? Were they playing over their head a little bit in those years? Was this always bound to happen to this team at some point? I don't know. All I know is there's still talent on that team. And they've just got to find a way to use it. And, maybe bring somebody in. Now, that's the one thing is like you've heard, the trades. Now, obviously, I don't think the Packers are going for Christian McCaffrey. That one doesn't make any sense. But if there's wide receivers out there, you'd like to hear the Packers be mentioned as one of the suitors.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to part with a draft pick. Like, obviously, first round picks are pretty much off the board. Second and third round, if you have to, go for it.
Well, and the other part of this too, though, Justice, with those draft picks, and I know a lot of people might not like hearing this, but it's like if Green Bay continues this downward trend, I mean, those picks are going to be higher in the draft, though, too.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
That's the other part. First rounders, yeah, I think is off the board, but then, I mean, if this kind of continues, I mean, your second round pick, I hate to talk like this, just 7 games into it, but it's like what, possibly in the 30s, somewhere around there.
Right. And, unfortunately for Brian Gutekunst, his offensive draft picks, especially on the skill side of it,
Yeah.
haven't done anything.
Yep.
They really haven't. They haven't had a whole lot of, especially this year, I think is the one where you really look at it. It's been a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
None of the wide receivers you've brought in right now are really paying. Romeo Dobbs has had chances, and he's 2 drops on key plays.
Yep.
Watson obviously has a key drop in the first game of the season. So it's like these guys that you expected to do something aren't doing it. So that's where, like, watching like the Chiefs game yesterday, it's like, man, if they had MVS is getting targeted a ton. And that's one, you kind of look back on it. It's like, why didn't they, that would have been the one to maybe try to keep.
Right.
Now,
especially because we need a deep threat now, somebody to take the top off the defense a little bit. So,
right. I mean, you got to give
he had 3 catches for 111 yards last night, for crying out loud. So.
Right. And I think of that Amari Rodgers drop,
yeah,
the one that failed again. I think MVS makes that catch because MVS is just, the speed is just insane. So lots to clean up. A win in Buffalo would, change a lot of people's opinions on this team. But right now, going forward, I can't see how they can stop Josh Allen on defense.
Yeah.
And I don't think offense can gas that Buffalo defense. So there's a lot going into this Sunday night game.
I agree. All right. We got to take a quick break, though, and we'll switch gears up here just for a little bit. So I want to try to hit up as many topics as I possibly can with JC and EC. Badgers picking up that W. Should Chris McIntosh and the Badgers just name Jimmy Leonard head coach right now? Or do you agree with what Chris McIntosh said 3 weeks ago, that it was going to be a nationwide search and, they're going to take a look at other options? Do you think that Badgers need to or should give Jimmy Leonard that head coaching job right now? Because you can kind of talk about the recruiting and that sort of thing, because Jimmy Leonard, they're on their bye week right now, but he made a comment after the game that he was going to kind of give the team what he envisions, his goals or his mindset if he were to get the job, the head man. So do you think the Badgers should just go ahead and give Jimmy Leonard the head coaching job now, or wait and see how these final 4 games play out? Plus, we've got some Bucks talk on the way, too. 2-0 after a dominating performance from Giannis on Saturday. It's a scary time right now, I tell you, because everywhere you'll turn and look, there's vampires, ghosts, monsters. Not talking about Justice, Cleveland. Of course, I'm talking about Halloween. But while it is a spooky time of the year, one thing you shouldn't be scared about is getting that new floor in your home. That's, of course, if you use Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Starting a home improvement project can be a scary thought, but with the help from the fantastic group at Carpet City Flooring Center, they will help take away any of the nervousness you may have about putting in that new floor of yours. Carpet City Flooring Center is with you every step of the process, from helping you select the right style that looks great in your home and fits in your budget, all the way to the install and financing options. So the only question you have to really ask yourself is, hey, what type of flooring are you looking for? Are you looking for carpet, luxury, vinyl, tile, or laminate? Well, Carpet City Flooring Center carries all the latest styles and trends to help you make that decision. Shopping for a new floor doesn't have to be scary. That's if you shop at Carpet City Flooring Center. All right, JC here. So Badgers picking up a homecoming win against the high-flying offense of Purdue. Badgers putting up 21 points in the first quarter there. Let me ask you, should the Badgers just make Jimmy Leonard head coach right now and take that interim label off? Or do you agree with what Chris McIntosh said in the presser after Paul Chris was fired, that he owes it to the university, to the program, to do a nationwide search?
I mean, in my feeling, Jim Leonard's going to be the head coach of the Badgers, but I still believe that they're going to probably have to. I think there's certain ways they have to go about it, especially if you're Chris McIntosh and you say that you're going to do it. I think I don't know with being a state organization. When Greg Yard got the job, it was kind of a different situation, kind of mid-season. So I think Jim Leonard's the man for the job. I don't know if you can officially come out and just say that at this point. That's my.
I was trying to remember.
So I was having maybe you have to wait till the end of the season to do that. So yeah, I don't know exactly how that goes in. I think he's the man for the job. I just don't know how official you can do it.
I was trying to remember, and maybe you can remember, like when Greg Gard was named the interim head coach at that point. Did they post the job? Do you remember if they still posted the head basketball job when he was interim head coach?
I want to say they did.
Because I couldn't remember that.
Because I think he was interim head coach the whole year. And then obviously they went on, had success, and then he was named head coach. So I don't think it was ever just like right away he was head coach and that's it.
Right.
And all said and done. So I think they may have. I don't know. Again, this is getting into the legalese side of it, where, which I'm not. I could probably find what it exactly is, but yeah, I think if you're Chris McIntosh, you just wait to the end of the season. Tell if Jim Leonard's going to be the man, have him be the interim head coach, do everything that the head coach does, and it's his job to lose. And I think this was a big win. And the team's around, it's at 500. If they can, they still have a good chance of getting bowl eligible here. So, yeah, I think, I think Jim Leonard's the man for the job. I just don't know how exactly when you can officially tell him that you are the man.
And I know Jim Leonard said that, with the bye week coming up here, he wants to communicate his plans with his players, if he were to get that head coaching job there too. Do you think it's important, though, for Wisconsin in terms to name a coach quickly for recruiting purposes, or do you think that gets a little overblown at times?
I think, the performance on the field is more, is the biggest part. If they're winning games, I think the recruits are going to say, okay, well, he's going to be there anyway. It's going to be one of those things. So I think once you get it, the season's done. If you get to a bowl game, I think if you can find this, the space between the bowl game and that, final game of the regular season, and you could make that announcement maybe, then it helps going into the bowl game. And then after that, you can just hit the ground running. So yeah, again, whatever that timetable is going to be, first get the wins on the field and then make things a lot easier. But again, it's a tough, Maryland is a different Maryland team than we've seen in years past. So the next 4 games, Maryland, Iowa, Nebraska, and Minnesota are all going to be competitive games. And if you can, you go 2-2 in those, you get 6-6, you're at least bowl eligible. Or somebody's going to, a 500 Badger team is going to a bowl because the Badgers travel well. So, but if you win 3 of 4, you're definitely in a bowl game. So that's the big tat hand first off for Jim Leonard.
Yeah, but that was I didn't think Wisconsin was going to get the win on Saturday, and well, when you jump out to a 21-0 lead in the first quarter, that's going to help you kind of get that victory there too. So shout out to Jimmy Leonard and the Badgers for coming out and homecoming and his first game in front of the fans at Camp Randall too. So
Yeah, and overcoming some questionable officiating calls as
yes,
well.
yep. And it was cool to see some of Jimmy Leonard's. Like I saw Owen Daniels, giving him a hug over there because it was alumni were over there too. So that had to be really just a special moment for Jimmy Leonard. I have to imagine, getting a win at home for the first time as head coach, but a lot of alumni and former teammates there with him too, or watching that there.
Yeah, and you're not going to outwork Jimmy Leonard. We know that for sure. So I think that's for me, it's just like seeing him as the head coach for the Badgers just fits.
Yeah.
And I think I think it keeps the alumni love it, which is always key. That's where your money's coming from the alumni. And if the alumni like that fit, that helps too. And he's just, he's just that great underdog story. That's just everywhere he's been, he's found success because he's earned it. So yeah, having him lead them out of the tunnel there at Camp Randall is pretty cool.
It is, no doubt. Okay, just I know we got a few minutes before we got to restart the Zoom here, Justice, but it's just 2 games in, but the Bucks right now are on pace to go undefeated throughout the season, 82-0. Do you think they do? I'm just kidding. But go back to that game on Saturday night. Just add another notch to the legacy of Giannis, for crying out loud. 44 points, a double in 28 minutes of play. We were talking at the beginning of the season at the openers, like what else could Giannis do to add to his legacy? And maybe it's just keep continuing what he's doing, and that's dominating games, because holy moly, did he dominate that game against the Rockets on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, in all aspects of it. I mean, not only just going 17 of 21 from the field, but hitting 2 of 3 3-pointers, not taking extra 3-pointers is taking enough. Shot over 50% from the free throw line. The offensive rebounds were there. It's everything that you that is who Giannis Antetokounmpo is. He's just special, and still probably doesn't get the publicity he deserves nationally, even though he's an MVP. I think he's got movies made about him, but in the national conversation, because he plays in Milwaukee, he unfortunately still gets overlooked. But I love when he goes out there and just does something like that. He's like, yeah, you have to look at me because I'm still the most dominant player in the league right now. So come try to stop me.
And I know everybody kind of talks about his outside game and his perimeter game, but the fact that he's still able to, go and put up 40-some points, 30-some points, by being an interior player. Yeah, he can, hit a 3 once in a while or hit a jumper once in a while, but we know it's the Euro step. It's getting to the hoop. The fact that he can still do that, I think, is so impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he is just he's so tall and so long, and just the way he glides through the lane.
Yeah.
How do you stop that? You can't. There's really he'll just muscle through guys, even if you're standing in front of him. So yeah, I think he is just, we are watching a really special, it kind of goes back with with Aaron Rodgers, especially in his prime. You're watching Aaron Rodgers do what he does. Even that touchdown throw he had yesterday. It's the same thing with Giannis. You got to appreciate just the greatness that you're watching out there for the Bucks.
I completely agree. I'm taking it all in, because you don't know when it might not happen again. Hopefully,
exactly.
It's still weird to say that Giannis is 10 years into the league already, and he's not. He'll turn 28 in December, I think.
Right. I mean, it would be great if for 10 more years, Giannis is there. I would love it.
I think everybody would love it. And you know what? If you're not on that Bucks train right now, Bucks might be your best shot at getting a championship in the near future. Just saying. Just saying. So, all right, we got to take our final break here. We'll restart the Zoom there, Justice, but then we'll finish up the first hour here. Don't forget, you can join in the convo. Hit us up with a text on the Shoe Doctors bullpen line if you'd like, or on Twitter at DAN KASPER, Facebook.com as well. We got the video stream up on the Facebook page, my Facebook page, if you want to join the conversation over there too. See my ugly mug, all that good stuff. But don't forget to join in the conversation with us, all right? We'll take a quick break, and we'll do studs and duds. So if you got your studs and duds list, we'll hit that up in the next hour. And your Monday morning quarterback overreaction Monday. What's your biggest overreaction from, let's say, the past week or so? Even though we had a pretty fantastic weekend weather-wise, I hate to break it to y'all because we are inching closer and closer to that season that starts with a W and rhymes with hinter. Of course, talking about winter. So while you're starting to put that outdoor yard decor away, if you haven't already, you better get on it. And maybe you're dreading all that leaf pickup. Well, don't forget to get your vehicle ready for another Wisconsin winter, too. And that's where ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire can help you out. You need some new tires to do battle against those snow-covered roads? ASAP Used Auto Parts can hook you up with not only the best tires, but at the best prices in the valley. What about those cold mornings? Don't cross your fingers hoping your car will start that morning. Take out the worry and get a new battery from ASAP Used Auto Parts. Oil change to keep your engine running smooth in these harsh winters? Yep, ASAP Used Auto does that as well. Plus a wide, huge selection of high-quality used auto parts to help you save some money for repairs, or maybe you're remodeling a vehicle this winter. When it comes to helping make sure your vehicle is ready for the road, ASAP Used Auto Parts is ready to help you. We have the World Series set. It is the Phillies versus the Astros. And I'm sure, Justice, there's plenty of Brewers fans thinking we were so close to being in and knocking out the Phillies. And look at here. The Phillies are in the World Series right now. Now, that's not to say the Brewers would have been there, but I think it's an example of, again, once you get to the postseason, well, gosh darn it, anything can happen at that point.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you have a chance if you're in the tournament, and the Phillies showing that. I mean, the Phillies offensively, though, they had the firepower,
right,
to get to where they're at, and to come back the way they did this weekend against the Padres. I think it was Friday night or Saturday night where they made the big comeback. They hit their way there, and that's what you need to do at times too. So yeah, I don't think anybody thought Phillies Astros is what we were looking at.
No.
To start the season. I mean, credit to the Astros. We can go back to the cheating scandal, but we're almost how many years past that going on. What the Astros have on the field the past 7-8 years, very impressive. Getting back to the World Series again. I love them or hate them. They are just a consistent team, and they're obviously going to be the favorites going into it.
Yeah. Sean or Dusty Baker, he's still looking for his first World Series win, and he's got to be feeling pretty confident about his team. If he can pick up his first World Series win as a manager. So I mean, that's what I'll tell you right now. I'm picking the Astros to beat the Phillies here, but I hope Dusty Baker does get a World Series ring. He's been around the block for, Cubs, Giants, Nationals for a little bit there. So I'm rooting for Dusty Baker to get a ring.
And another guy on that team, Justin Verlander, who's got his one World Series ring in 2017, but for him to come back at his age, for major arm surgery, then just dominate to look like he did, he may even be better than he was.
Yeah.
The last couple of years. I mean, this is a guy who's I think should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's probably not going to get to 300 wins, but this day and age, not many people are going to get to 300 wins, especially the era that he started in. But yeah, I mean, to go 18-4 in the regular season and now have a chance for a World Series, just very impressive. And last night I watched the Netflix has that Nolan Ryan documentary, and I kind of watched that and kind of thinking like, it's kind of like Dustin Verlander now here, 39 years old and still out there pitching like the best pitcher in the league. So it's fun to watch those guys when they're in the you say the twilight, but we don't know. Justin Verlander could be pitching for a few more years. So yeah, it should be I think it's gonna be a fun World Series though, with the bats from Philly, the way they've the emotional run they've had into just a machine like Houston. So hopefully it's a good one and we get just a dramatic World Series here.
Isn't Kyle Schwarber is like the poster child of today's baseball, isn't he? He's got a batting average of 218 in the regular season, but he hit 46 dingers. And he's got 3 home runs in this postseason already, but his batting average is 200, for crying out loud. It's all power or nothing.
Everybody's Rob Deere now.
Yeah. he's the poster child, though. It's all about the home run ball right now.
That ball he hit on Saturday, what was it, 430 some feet? And I don't know if I've seen a home run that you were so sure off the bat. I think back in Bonds, the one that he hit against the Angels that like never landed. That's how much he just crushed that ball. So yeah, I think when you have a team like with Schwarber, Gene Segura's been getting a lot of pub and had, good for him, for a guy who used to be that whole lineup is loaded. Yeah. It really is. Obviously Bryce Harper's a generational player. Nick Castellanos hasn't been hitting as well, but he's a guy who's right there, can do it if you need it. So yeah, I think it's going to be a fun series.
It is. I hope so. I hope so because the the championship series, they went by pretty quick with the Astros sweeping the Yankees, and well, the Padres only getting one W against the Phillies. So
I think the Phillies and Padres should have to break out their like late 70s uniforms though.
Ooh, that'd be pretty cool.
Just for the I love the Astros, the Nolan Ryan era.
Mm-hmm.
The Sunrise, I think it was, or whatever it's called. So yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be fun. I just want a fun World Series. Let's go 7 games.
Let's do it. Do it up. First game Friday night too. So, all right, Justice. Before I let you go, I know we got a few hours yet, or a few minutes yet to the top. Final thoughts on the green and gold.
They gotta look in the mirror and figure out what is going on. I think the coaching staff needs to figure out how come other teams are adjusting, but they're not being able to adjust. So yeah, I think it's not just the coaching staff, it's not just the players, it's the front office too. Everybody in that organization to a T has to look up and say, okay, what are we doing and what do we need to change?
Mm-hmm. I think in this next, I know the trade deadline is on November 1st, but I think we'll know what Goody maybe thinks about his team right now, whether there's a move made or not in this next week and a half. And honestly, I don't think a move's going to be made, but it's like, if he still believes that this is a team that can compete for a Super Bowl, you'd think he'd go out there and make a move then, but maybe we'll kind of get a glimpse of what he really views this team as, if depending on whether he makes a move or not at this point.
Yeah, I agree. But that's a tough thing. The Packers in general have not, since Ron Wolf did it, bringing in Andre Rison and stuff, like they haven't been the team to make that move. But I would love to see it this year. And really, maybe get that locker room going a little bit more too.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. It would probably boost morale a little bit.
Right. You're like showing them that we're out here, we're here, we're committed.
Yeah.
But that's just, unfortunately, hasn't been really the Packers' way in the last 2 decades.
So I just saw Schefter tweet this. The Packers are 10.5-point underdogs, and Aaron Rodgers has never been a double-digit underdog during his career.
Well, maybe that'll light a fire too.
Man, what a jump, though. I mean, these last couple weeks, they were favored by, was it 9 or something against the Giants, and 7 or even 9 against the Jets, and favored by 4.5 against Washington, and then you're talking almost a 14-point swing at this point.
Yeah, well, and they've earned that.
Oh yeah,
they really earned that.
Holy moly! But it's just weird times, man. But again, maybe it's just we put too high of an expectation. I think the goal is, as long as Aaron Rodgers is still quarterback, the goal is always going to be a Super Bowl. But I think goals and expectations might be a little bit different. Whereas, yeah, the goal is a Super Bowl, but did we have too high expectations of what the team was going to do this year?
I think we did. Yeah. I think we thought those players that needed to step up were going to, and so far they haven't.
No. I just saw this from Matt Schneidman, who tweeted this. Week of the Packers' 4th regular season loss under Matt LaFleur. 2019, never. 2020, never. Last year, week 18, when they sat starters for a half. 2022, week 7. Things come at you fast in the NFL.
Yeah, it was going to happen at some point. There was going to be struggles, and now we're seeing it.
What do you think? If we put our fanism aside, though, the bigger surprise 3-4 team, is it Tampa or Green Bay?
I think Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Tampa still brought a lot of that same core back.
Mm-hmm.
With Packers lost a lot of that core in their offense, so I think it's Tampa.
I would agree. Brady's still got Mike Evans and playoff Lenny. You can say whether they played up to that level, but at least on paper they look like they've got a better roster, especially on the defense too.
Yeah, so I think that to me that's the bigger surprise.
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right, Justice, that shot clock's going to cut us off here, so we always appreciate the time and keep up the good work. I know this is a busy time for you with the postseason at the high school level and such. So, do you know where you're going to be at Friday yet?
I haven't made, probably Regis, more than likely. Just makes it a little easier for me being in town. I wanted to give a shout out to real quick to some of the volleyball teams still going too, as Bloomer and Plum City Elmwood also moving on, and then soccer wise, you got Memorial and Arcadia both have a chance. Rice Lake as well to get a chance to go to state as well.
Good stuff. All right, JC, appreciate it, buddy. We'll talk to you again next week. Okay.
Thank you for having me, and have a good week.
You got it. All right, the rest of you, we've got another hour of this thing to go. Studs and duds coming up after this quick break. All right, final hour kicking off on this Monday morning. What up, everybody? Appreciate you tuning in. However, wherever you may be tuning in, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, radio dials, sportstalk1051.com, the app, your Google and Alexa home devices, all over the place. Take us on the go. Wherever you want to go, I guess. So it is a Monday morning quarterback and overreaction Monday. What's your biggest Monday morning quarterback overreaction from, I guess, the past week we can do it. So since last Tuesday up until now, you can hit us up with a tweet at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports. Comment on the video stream and all that. We also will get to studs and duds here in just a minute. We'll get back to some more green and gold chat too, but did forget to do last hour some sports nuggets of the day. Let's hit that up quick. It was 1857. The Sheffield Football Club of England was formed. 1943, the Green Bay Packers intercepted 9 passes in a 27-6 victory over the Detroit Lions. 1948, the Chicago Cardinals scored 35 points in the third quarter on a way to a 49-27 victory over the Boston Yanks. 1965, Fran Tarnington, Minnesota Vikings threw for 407 yards and 3 touchdowns in a 42-41 victory over the San Francisco 49ers. Let's go with Chuck Foreman, 1976, with the Vikings, rushed for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns in a 31-12 victory over the Eagles. The Blue Jays in 1992 became the first non-USA team to win the World Series. And for a little bit at least, 1998, Ricky Williams became the leading scorer for in NCAA Division I history. At the end of the game, he had a total of 428 points. So those are just some of your sports nuggets for this Monday morning. All right, my studs and duds are a little easy. I'm going to kind of make it fairly simple here. But my studs, I'm going to give actually, it's a tie between 2. I'm going to go with the Badger football team with the victory at on homecoming against Purdue, but also shout out to the Badger men's hockey team for a 2-game sweep over 10th-ranked UMD. The Badger hockey team started off the season 0-4. We know, Tony Granado probably on the hot seat a little bit. And the season started off pretty darn slow, but getting a 2-game sweep over 10th-ranked UMD, shout out to the Badger hockey team for that. So kudos for some studs and duds, or for my studs there. My duds, again, I'm just going to make it simple. It's Green Bay. I mean, come on now. It's the Packers. I mean, poo-poo. And that's the best way I can clean it up here. You can point to a bunch of different stuff. You can point to the defense. You can point to the offense. You can point to the coaching. You can point to the front office. Fact is, could be right answers, could be wrong answers. We don't know. There is no right or wrong answer in this whole thing. It's just everything. So duds is easily your Green Bay Packers. So those are my studs and duds. Your studs and duds. You can hit us up with a text on the Shoe Doctors line if you'd like, if that's easier. 715-830-1912. Join the conversation with us there. But taking a look again, kind of revisiting some stuff that we chatted about in the first hour. In case you're just joining us, Packers, another loss, 3 losses in a row to fall to 3-4 on the season. And now they've got a date with the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo Sunday night. Bills coming off of a bye. Bills opening up as a 10.5-point favorite right now. Aaron Rodgers saying after the game, I'm not worried about this squad. In fact, this might be the best thing for us. This week, nobody's going to give us a chance. Going to Buffalo on Sunday Night Football with a chance to get exposed. Shoot, this might be the best thing for us. Now, I don't know. I mean, that's great talk. I would expect nothing else from quarterback number 1 to say anything like that. I wouldn't expect anything else. I'd be shocked if he actually said anything else. But talk is cheap at a certain point right now, and I think a lot of probably Packers fans have probably getting a little tired of all the talk and wanting to see a little bit more of the play on the field, and let's put the proof in the pudding here, and let's actually put together some W's and some better play and some consistently better play on the field. Right now, we ain't getting that. I mean, we haven't seen a full complete game since what, maybe last year, for crying out loud. I mean, it's perplexing. But honestly, I think, for many of us, I'm guilty of it. The expectations might have been a little too high. Might have been just a skosh too high. With the quarterback, with Aaron Rodgers, absolutely, the goal should always be Super Bowl. 100% should always be Super Bowl. But did we have too high of an expectation? Did we, personally think that they had a team to go there? And right now, I'm thinking, no. I think we might have, or at least I did, might have overrated them a bit. I'll admit it. Right now, I was dead wrong. And I think a lot of people were dead wrong on this too. And, we opened up this season thinking, all right, spreading the ball around a little bit more on offense. It's, able to do that. But, I mean, guys it's everything. It's not one thing. It is everything. Guys aren't getting open. Guys are dropping the balls. You can throw in maybe some questionable play calls here or there. It's accuracy issues. That's offense. Defense collapsing in the second half. Can't stop the run. It's just been a lot of stuff kind of popping its head up. And I think that's the frustrating part. And I think that's where, a lot of us are just like, I'm frustrated with this team. Like, I had high hopes, high expectations, high goals, and to not see it playing out like we had all hoped at the beginning of the year, that's the frustrating part. And especially when you kind of look at it on paper, when you go back, you're like, all right, kind of revisit some of the stuff that we were excited about. Defensive line's got some depth. All right, Kenny Clark's got some help. Inside linebackers, they got some guys there. Corners, I mean, they invested a lot of money in draft picks. Secondary looks pretty good. It's going to be the defense that carries the Packers this year. It's going to be a defensive team. It's going to be shorter passing game, getting running backs involved, and we have not seen the success of any of that in the first 7 games. Nothing. I mean, the fact that a team like Washington, and we've seen other teams do it. I think the Giants did a little bit, and the Jets obviously did it too. But where they don't have to bring extra pressure, they don't have to be blitzing Aaron Rodgers, and they can drop all those other players in the secondary and back into the coverage when you already have a receiving group that's lacking in some talent, yet you've got extra defenders back there. Well, no kidding, Aaron Rodgers is going to average 0.2, 0.4 yards through the air per pass. You got all that traffic jams out there and guys that can't get open. That's what, when Green Bay did have Devontae, you at least had Devontae, who we knew could get off the line of scrimmage. It's probably the best in the league at getting off the line of scrimmage. Yet you still had the threat of an Aaron Jones in the backfield. You can utilize those two. Now you take away a guy like Devontae. You take away a guy like MVS, which, I think it bears the question, if MVS is playing on this ball club, do the Packers have 2 more wins at least? I think you can make a claim for that. But, you have those 2 wide receivers. You have a Devontae net, and then you have the threat of an Aaron Jones. You can do a couple different things. Right now, Green Bay can't. It's stuck. This engine cannot get going. And how do you do it? Do you bring in another wide receiver? Okay. If you bring in a wide receiver, though, if everything's about execution, everything's based off of timing, do you trust that wide receiver to able to pick that up right away and get her done? I don't know. I have no idea. It's worth a shot, I guess, but it's frustrating. Now, I know there's like even calls to trade Aaron Rodgers and all that. First of all, that's not happening. It's not happening. One, the other team ain't taking a contract. Two, it's a death sentence for the Packers in terms of contract. Remember, just because you trade a guy doesn't necessarily mean you don't take the cap hit. You're still taking a huge cap hit with the dead money. Okay? You're still doing that. But I think we need to back up a little bit on that, trade Aaron Rodgers talk here a little bit and just like, okay, let's take some deep breaths, okay? Let's take it in and take it out. Has he been playing well? No. Accuracy, yep, issues. Thumb issue, you can tell it's affecting it. Green Bay throws a Hail Mary at that end of the game instead of the laterals all over the place if Aaron Rodgers has a healthy thumb. I think that's evident. That it's a Hail Mary. And not saying the Hail Mary would have worked, for crying out loud. But I think that's also kind of giving a glimpse of where, yeah, that thumb is bothering Aaron Rodgers. It's affecting throws. So just a few thoughts. Let's deep dive into this a little bit more. All right. We'll take a quick break. Hit us up with some text. 715-830-1912. Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. Or Facebook.com and Twitter. Quick break. We'll be back after these few words. Colder temps are coming back again here, but some of us probably already knew that without looking at the calendar. That's because you've started to feel maybe that pain in your knee again, which helps you forecast the temperature. While that pain in your knee may make a reliable weather forecaster in your opinion, it should also be a reminder for you to make that appointment with Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine to get that pain checked out. Start today by visiting cvosm.com and start living that pain-free life. Speaking of which, so when David Bakhtiari was ruled out yesterday, I sent a message to our good buddy, Dr. Crow from Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. You can hear Dr. Crow on our Inside the Training Room segment every Friday morning at 7:05. So I asked him, okay, because it apparently flared up either Friday or Saturday, because on Saturday he was added to the injury report as questionable, and he did a workout on the field before the game. But nonetheless, I was like, okay, is this maybe like a fluid situation? Is that fluid building back up? And Dr. Crow said very likely that, or it could be, quote, load management, but that would suggest something is still wrong with the knee. Long story short, whatever issue he has, his knee continues to deal with. It hasn't resolved. And there was some interesting comments from Zach Tom, the rookie lineman who got the start at left tackle yesterday as the Packers retooled, kind of shuffled around their offensive line. By the way, something we didn't really kind of deep dive, but did you like the way the offensive line played yesterday? Aaron Rodgers had just a couple quarterback hits, no sacks if you look at the numbers, that sort of thing. But again, Washington didn't really have to blitz because they were able to get pressure and drop a bunch of guys back in coverage there. So, guys covered, nowhere to throw the football. Yeah, it's going to be a little, how long can you ask the offensive line to hold up there? But Zach Tom had some interesting comments about David Bakhtiari. And, because he was asked about, when did he know he was going to get the start? And he kind of knew Saturday night, it sounds like. And I'm going to try to find the exact quotes that he said. Yeah, here it is. So Zach Tom said he learned about his first career start at left tackle when he got to the stadium Sunday morning. So it wasn't Saturday night, it was Sunday morning. And according to Ryan Wood, who covers Packers, said that doesn't mean he went to bed Saturday with no clue he might play. Quote from Zach Tom, "You can just see it. The way Bakhtiari looks in practice sometimes, you always have got to be ready." Tom went on to say that he got his first team left tackle reps this week, but he added he gets first team left tackle reps every week. He knows he always has to be on alert. Pretty much any week with Dave, you just know that the knee, anything can happen. This was really no different than any other week. And I want to go back to what he said about the practice this week. You can just see it, the way Bakhtiari looks in practice sometimes. You've always got to be ready. David Bakhtiari has been playing, how many snaps the last couple of weeks, almost every single game. If you go back to the beginning of the season when Matt LaFleur said, hey, we're just going to have practice David Bakhtiari a couple times a week. It's never going to be 3 days in a row. Well, he's been doing that. He's been practicing 3 days in a row. So, did Green Bay get a little greedy? And the knee kind of acted up a little bit, flared up, maybe got some fluid building back up in there. But regardless, this ain't good for David Bakhtiari's future. This is not good at all. The fact that, players, when you listen to Zach Tom say you can just kind of tell in practice, I don't know exactly what he means by that. If he kind of is insinuating, you remember that video that was around social media a couple weeks ago, or maybe a few weeks ago, where he was limping, everybody was kind of freaking out about it. Maybe that's kind of what he's referring to. But that's you feel bad for the guy too, because it's nothing that he can control, right? It's nothing David Bakhtiari can control. There's nothing that really, and doctors too. man, I'm just looking at Bakhtiari's contract here, and it's tough. It really is tough here. Thinking after this year, what could they get? And according to Spot Track, a potential out could be in 2023, where his cap hit. So David Bakhtiari's cap hit this year is 13.4. Remember, it restructured a little bit. But next year his cap hit jumps up to 29. But the thing is, he also has a dead cap hit of 23. So you move on from him. You do save $6 million, but that's still pretty darn big dead cap hit. But on the flip side, if you go with Zach Tom as your future left tackle, or maybe Yash, you kind of get it by a little cheaper that way. So, but there's no doubt, I think after this year, there's probably going to be some decisions that are going to have to be made between either Bakhtiari and the Packers or one side. There's definitely going to have to be some decisions made. Because if this is the way it's going to go, where it literally is day by day, week by week sort of thing, can you afford to do that with that type of contract? I mean, can you afford to do that with your team? I don't know. I don't know if you can. Now, after 2023, he's got one more year left on 2024, and well, I'll just tell you, I think if he makes it, if he's on this team next year, on that current structure, I struggle to see him being on the team with that 2024 type of structure, because he would be on the hook for about $33 million for a cap hit, but his dead cap hit would be about 11.5. So, I mean, you're talking almost, what, $20-some million cap relief. So I honestly feel like if it's not this year, it's next year. It's next year. So, but you just feel bad for a guy like Bakhtiari. He gets the big deal, big contract, and then, Packers getting ready for the postseason. I know they had a final couple games left in the regular season, but then he tears his ACL in practice and just won't be the same type of player. All right, let's we're at the bottom of the hour here. So were your expectations maybe a little too high? Were they a little too high? Did we have a little too high of expectations? Not the goals. I think every time you have Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback, your goals should always be Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. But did we as fans, and maybe heck, even Goody and the Packers, did they have a little too lofty expectations? I'll admit it. I was one of those. Yeah, it sucked to lose Devontae, but you're thinking, okay, spread the ball around a little bit, get Aaron Jones more involved. But I think we kind of had too high of an expectations on the receiving core for kind of stepping up. Defensively, for sure. I mean, this is like a one-half defense, for crying out loud. They'll go out there and put together some good drives, mostly in the first half, but then it's like the second half. It's like, what the hell is going on? Can't get off the field. I mean, they finally, I look back at that game yesterday, and yeah, they got the pick 6 from Devondre Campbell, but when Taylor Heinicke started off the game and he was struggling. I mean, the accuracy, the issues, the timing was completely off. And what Douglas had his hands on a couple balls, I think Jair did, maybe Savage. You got to come away with those picks. You got to take advantage of those. You just kind of let it hanging around there a little bit. Then he settled in, came out in the second half, settled in, got the timing down, and he balled out, him and McLaurin. McLaurin he balled out against Jair. Jair wants the top guys. Well, he got McLaurin, and McLaurin got him on a couple of big plays, especially that big one at the end. But kind of that did seal it for Washington. Here we go, back to Zach Tom here quick. Mike Renner from Pro Football Focus, who's been on our program before. First career start at left tackle for Zach Tom. 35 pass blocking snaps, 0 pressures. And if you go back to the preseason, he was I believe the highest, if not, he was in the top 2 in terms of offensive linemen in the preseason. He didn't allow a single pressure in the preseason. But I think, Zach Tom came in with a lot of hype. And I don't mean that in a negative sense, but, okay, this guy might be a player. He's played around the offensive line. He's played different positions at Wake Forest. He's played center. He's played tackle. He's played guard. He played a little guard, I think, in relief. Was it week 1 for Green Bay against Minnesota? Goes out there. Has a pretty darn good day at left tackle. And you know what? He might very well be the future starting left tackle. And that's one way, Green Bay. I mean, if you're looking at it down the road, and I know we got to focus on this year, but that's one way, Green Bay can afford to take a cap hit, because even if David Bakhtiari retires, they still got to take a little bit of a cap hit with that thing. I mean, that's one way to kind of absolve yourself from that cap hit, is if you have a starter who's making like rookie money, especially a mid-round pick making rookie money. Now in Green Bay is going to have to figure out the question too. Are they going to want to pay Elton Jenkins a boatload of cash next year? And I think that's kind of where, when you look at this team, and that's where maybe some of the frustration is coming into. It's like, next year, there ain't going to be a whole lot of stuff that they could play around with. They ain't going to have an open checkbook where they can go out and wheel and deal and this and that. I mean, we kind of like looked at this year. It's like, okay, or even the last couple of years, like, okay, they're kind of pushing some chips in here a little bit. And this year, it ain't working for a multitude of reasons, but you kind of look ahead to next year and it's like, oh, but they're in some salary cap hell, for crying out loud. So we were really kind of hoping that this was the last dance, the final year to get this thing going. And it's like, oh, ain't working. It ain't working. So is it the end of an era? Is the end coming? Because you look at it, I mean, next year, can we all agree Aaron Jones is the best offensive skill player right now on this team? I think we would all agree with that. We're comfortable in saying that, right? Right now, currently, right now, Aaron Jones is the best offensive skill player. Dude, that what a couple years ago we were like, oh yeah, he's only going to be here for a couple more years, and then they're going to release him because of that contract. $20 million cap hit next year. If they release him, they save 11. But I mean, if he's your only guy, can you afford to let him go? You can restructure again. And then it's like, okay, running backs past the age of 30. Let's just say I'm glad I'm not a general manager. Okay. I'm glad I'm not a general manager that has to make these decisions. As much as I wanted to be a general manager at the age of 10, I'm glad I'm not anymore. Or I don't want to be that anymore. But that, okay, trade deadline's coming up on the 1st, right? Is one receiver going to make a world of difference? Are the reported potential available receivers out there going to make a world of difference? Is a Chase Claypool going to make a world of difference? Do they need to make a world of difference, in your opinion? Or maybe you're just like, hey, you know what? Let's just get a starter. Anything that'll help. Any little bit will help. Now, if the rumors are true that Chase Claypool is going to cost the same as what the 49ers gave up for Christian McCaffrey, we're talking about multiple second-round picks, third-round picks, and a fifth-rounder or fourth-rounder in there. I mean, is that worth it for a guy like Chase Claypool? Are you good with it, with giving up all that draft capital, knowing that, you know what? Hey, if it don't work, and you still are going to miss the postseason. You're going to have a decent draft position, but oh, guess what? You don't have any second-round picks. You know, it's like you look at Denver and Seattle right now. Like, Seattle's winning their division. Seattle's got a winning record, for crying out loud. Denver, you know, they trade some first-round picks. Same with the Saints and the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles and Seattle have to be like the two happiest teams right now because of where, you know, they made some moves, they made some trades. They're gonna have good draft picks in the first round next year. And yet, and Philly, Howie Roseman is doing a fantastic job as general manager in Philadelphia right now. I mean, he has got to be feeling pretty damn good right now about the future of his team, the current and the future. And then we kind of laughed at Seattle. Like, oh, you're going to go into the season with Geno Smith and Drew Lock. Well, it's going to be a long season for Seattle fans. Tip of the cap to Pete Carroll and John Schneider. They're winning their damn division right now. But is one receiver going to make the difference? I don't know. Maybe a little bit of a trickle-down effect. I don't know. That's tough. That's a tough pill to swallow. And how much are you willing to give up? Like, okay, if you're willing to give up that much for Chase Claypool, do you think you have enough time to turn this thing around and try to get back into a playoff conversation or try to get into the playoffs? Do you think there's enough time? Say you make the deal this week. Is that enough time to turn this thing around? Because if you make a deal for Chase Claypool or if you make a deal for another starting receiver out there, you're sending the message like, okay, we still think we can go and win this thing or get to the Super Bowl this year. You buying that? You think they can? Or do we just need to, you know what? This is a year of growing pains. This is a year of a lot of movement within the team. Coaching-wise, a lot of assistant coaches on the offensive side left. New guys in new roles. Offensively, top two receivers left. We've got young guys trying to fill the hole there. One of the young guys has barely seen the field because of hamstring issues. Do we just need to accept that this is one of those years where it's all growing pains? We're going to have to take our lumps. If we get some wins, awesome. If we get some losses, they stink. But we got to embrace the stink. I guess what I'm trying to insinuate is it's almost like a throwout year, and I hate saying that, but I mean, do we at this point just have to embrace the stink and take our lumps with you know, some of these guys, some of these players, and count on next year that they're going to take jumps in their, you know, sophomore years or third years? I mean, that's a risk in itself, though, too, because nothing is given. Nothing is for certain. It's going to be interesting this week, though, if they decide to make any moves or not. I think it'll tell us. And, you know, I know some people are kind of saying it'll tell, you know, whether Goody makes a move or not. That'll tell us if what he views his team as. And I don't know if it really will. You know, I mean, just based off of history, I don't know if that completely will. You know, I think if this team was maybe 5-2, 6-1, and then he makes a move for a wide receiver, I think then that tells you is like, okay, they're going for it. They're going to put their chips in and they're going to go for it. But 3-4, if he doesn't make a move, I don't know. I don't know if that'll tell us anything or not. But kind of interesting, though, too, that according to some of the reporters at the game, there was 2 minutes and 6 seconds left on the clock. Over 2 minutes left. Just a little over 2 minutes left. The front office, the Packers front office, left, walked out of the press box. And it's like, well, no, duh. I mean, why? But I think it's kind of still telling that, full over 2 minutes, and they're just like, nope, we know, we're done. We conceded defeat. We're done. And frustration boiling through for the front office. Because I think if you're a Goody and you're the front office, you kind of have to be looking at the mirror a little bit and be like, all right, our moves or lack thereof in certain areas, they ain't panning out the way that we thought they were going to. Now what? Do we have enough time? Do we have enough to turn this thing around? I mean, luckily, you look at the NFC, you do have a bunch of 3-3, 3-4 teams. But the thing is, you kind of look at it from the top, and I hate kind of looking at playoff stuff right now, just 7 weeks into the season. But, I mean, you kind of look at it right now. Phillies, Minnesota. I mean, Phillies 6-0. Minnesota's 5-1. Unless Minnesota goes on this ridiculous losing streak and Green Bay turns around, Minnesota's going to win the division. And then you look at like the NFC West and the NFC South teams. Seattle's 4-3. They're the 3 seed right now. Green Bay can't take that away. Green Bay's not in the NFC West. Tampa Bay's the 4 seed. They're 3-4. Green Bay can't take that away. They're not in the NFC South. And then you got your 2 wildcard teams. Giants are 6-1, and the Cowboys are 5-2. It's an NFC East top-heavy conference right now, which means you got one more spot. And that's the Rams sitting there at 3-3. So, yeah, you've got teams sitting at 3-3, 3-4, a bunch of them. But if everything kind of continues the trend where it's going right now, Green Bay might only be playing for one playoff spot, for trying to get in that one spot, and that's at like 7th spot. Unless Dallas can, go on a little bit of a losing streak here. Well, they got the Bears, then a bye, then the Packers, then Minnesota, then the Giants, then the Colts, Texans, Jaguars, Eagles, Titans. Oh, I don't know about that one. All right, we got to take a break here, then we'll wrap things up. Last call for any studs or duds. Your biggest overreaction, your Monday morning quarterback overreaction, all that stuff. We'll cover some bases after these quick words. All right, 10 minutes to the top. Let's wrap things up here. Quick text or a quick tweet from Matt's. Maybe time to ask Rodgers. 1, okay with losing this year. Try to win, yes, but be realistic. 2, trade him and recoup cash and draft capital. Pats, Hawks, Giants, see what Love has, or get one of the next 3 next year and rebuild. Well, remember, you're not going to recoup cash if you're trading Aaron Rodgers. You're still taking on a massive, massive dead cap hit if you trade Aaron Rodgers. So, I mean, you trade him, yeah, you'll get draft picks, but really, I mean, how many teams are going to want to trade the world for Aaron Rodgers at this point, given what's been on film? Probably not as much as you would have in the offseason last year or the year prior, but you're not recouping a whole lot of cap. In fact, you're taking on quite a bit of dead cap money on that thing, too. In fact, even if Aaron Rodgers retires after this year, the Packers are taking on $43 million in dead cap space. 43. That's why I feel like he's not retiring after this year. I feel like he's in it for 2 more years, but I could be completely off on that thing. Completely off. But it's not as easy just trading away a player and recouping cash. You got that whole dead cap thing to kind of worry about there a little bit. So, but they ain't trading him. And they're not trading Aaron. It ain't going to happen, nor should they. Nor should they. All right, let's cover some of the bases. We got the World Series all set for Friday. First game between the Phillies and the Astros. You think the Phillies have a shot to take down the Astros? Or do you think Dusty Baker will get his first World Series as a manager? What do you got? Give me your predictions throughout the week, okay? Badger football on a bye this week. Kind of throw out the question, would you like to see Jimmy Leonard should they just hand him the job now? Now, I don't know about the whole thing. I know we looked it up Thursday and it wasn't even posted yet on the good old websites or on the UW job posting websites. I don't know if that means anything or not. I really don't know. But I know they have to post state jobs and all that sort of thing. But with interim statuses, I don't know. I don't know if that's different or not. That's why I was trying to remember the Greg Gard thing, since he was interim head coach. Did they still have to post? I don't know off the top of my head. I can't remember that far back. But, yeah, Jimmy Leonard making some comments after the homecoming win that, he was going to spend this bye week and kind of going over his vision with the players of the future of the program if he were to get the job, which I think we all know it's going to be Jim Leonard at this point, right? It is. So, all right, let's what other stuff do we got on here? Bucks off to a 2-0 start so far this season. We've got their next game Wednesday night taking on the Nets of Brooklyn. Giannis Saturday night, though, just another dominating performance from the Greek Freak. An efficient, we call it an efficient, dominating performance from the Greek Freak. Is that possible to say that? Because the guy goes out there and he just, casually puts up 44 points in 28 minutes of action. Just goes out there and does his thing. 44 points, 17 of 21 from the field, 8 of 13 from the charity stripe, 2 of 3 from the 3. This dude's amazing. Man, I love Giannis. Nobody in the world can stop this guy. But nice little break here, I guess, early break, if you will. Because 3 days off, and then they get Brooklyn at home. They're still at home. They're not traveling. They don't have to travel to the early part of November here. That's a quick trip to Minnesota before they're back home. Then they go on a little bit of a road trip the second week of November there. So, also, as I put it in my stud shout out, though, but studs, part of my studs was to the Badger men's hockey team getting the 2-game sweep over the 10th ranked UMD Bulldogs. So don't know what that means, whether for UMD or Badgers or anything like that, but I don't care. 2 wins over a 10th ranked team. All right, good weekend. Live it up. Live it up. We'll talk more Badgers with RJ Cardinal tomorrow. Talk a little bit about that, and of course, some Badger football with him too. So, but we'll hear a little bit more from Matt LaFleur later today with another presser And honestly, we're probably going to get the same stuff. So again, if you're expecting anything, if you're wanting to hear certain stuff, you're probably not going to hear it. You're probably going to hear the same old stuff. Got to do better. Coaches got to do better. Execution got to do better. We got to be better. That's all you're going to hear. You're going to hear typical coach speak today. So if you're expecting anything or you're wanting to hear anything, lower those expectations because it ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. And then Wednesday they'll be back at practice and more talks, and we'll hear from Aaron tomorrow on Pat's show, and he'll still say that he still has confidence in this team. Like he said yesterday, I can't say what he said because I'll get fined in that. We'll just say he said, "Gosh darn, I do believe that this team can," or he still has faith in this team. Gosh darn, he does, but in words I can't say. And I'm sure he'll kind of say similar stuff tomorrow and probably similar stuff Wednesday at his locker during the Packers presser, during his availability. But, November 1st is coming up here a week from tomorrow. And I'm sure we heard it yesterday with a lot of, those pregame shows, because it's like all these insiders save some of their stuff for their pregame shows on Sundays. So we heard more about, hey, these teams are calling about Jerry Jeudy. They're calling about Chase Claypool, receivers here, Brandon Cooks and all that. I mean, if a move's going to be made, or maybe Goody and the Packers are going to wait until after this Buffalo game and be like, okay, how bad do we lose by? Or maybe they're like, hey, if we actually get this win, then we'll pull the trigger on something. But if we're at 3-5, that might be too much of a hill to climb. But you're going to hear more speculation. You're going to hear more rumors. You're going to hear more Twitter people on their blogs writing stuff. And I mean, how many times have we been down this dang train? How many times have we gone through this whole thing with this trade deadline, with these trade deadlines, and nothing happens? So temper the expectations here a little bit. But you remember last year, a couple years ago, the whole notion, I think there were some people that were out there saying, hey, you don't need a first-round wide receiver. You don't need a, high-priced wide receiver to win football games or to win the Super Bowl or anything like that. I mean, when you kind of look at Green Bay now, and I know it's just one team, but, I mean, come on. You need some sort of talent over there, don't you? I mean, you need something. I mean, for crying out loud. I mean, this current receiving group compared to, let's say, Kansas City with Juju Smith-Schuster and MVS, would you take that over what? Alan Lazard and so-and-so? And I know the difference is Travis Kelce in Kansas City. Okay, I'm not immune to that. I'm just looking at the straight-up wide receiver group. Would you take MVS and Juju Smith-Schuster over Alan Lazard and, I guess at this point, Romeo Doubs, since he had the most snaps yesterday? And probably for a quote-unquote win now type of team? Possibly. Maybe. Whew. Yeah. All right. Shot clock's going to cut me off here in a little bit. So tomorrow we'll do some Grind My Gears, which actually Grind My Gears Tuesday has kind of turned into Grind My Gears Monday after these last few weeks here. So, but if you got anything else that is grinding your gears, you can hit us up tomorrow with a tweet or Facebook or anything like that. We'll do some bench start cut coming up tomorrow. We'll catch up with RJ Cardinal, all things Badgers. Badgers coming off that homecoming victory. Hockey team, as we just mentioned. Talk a little bit about them. Volleyball team, of course, too. So we'll catch up on all things Badgers with RJ. And we don't have a Bucks game yet until Wednesday, too. So we'll probably hit it up pretty hard with some Badgers talk and maybe a little green and gold, depending on if anything, happens or if people still are grinding their gears about about this Packers team from the last couple of weeks. All right. Enjoy your Monday, people. DP and Adanitz, they're up next. We will talk to you again tomorrow. Be happy. Be happy.